What's good, everybody? Mikey Eyes TV. I have a special guest today. He goes by the name of Carmelo. And you're asking, like, who's Carmelo? Carmelo is the founder to Tron. All the videos that everybody's seen back in the day was Style Elements versus the X-Men, Style Elements versus the Renegades, like all those events. Carmelo Alvarez is the founder of Tron. And we're going to be talking about some B-boy history, some real West Coast B-boy history. So I hope that you guys stay tuned and be looking out for that. Cosmo D, how you doing though, brother? Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Carmelo. So yes, Carmelo, you see the button right there? Can you click it? And it says request to join Mikey Ice Live. So like I was saying, everybody, this is a treat though, you know, because I know Tron has inspired so many people from the West Coast to Miami to New York to Canada to all over the world. So it's going to be exciting. Yes, Cosmo. Thank you though, brother. I appreciate the interview that me and you did though. You know, everybody was excited about that. J. Carlos, how you doing though, brother? So right now, I'm just waiting for Carmelo Alvarez to click the request to join live with me. And we're going to talk about some early breaking history. I'm excited about this. So stay tuned. J. Carlos, how you doing though today, bro? There we go. Thanks to everybody watching today. I appreciate it.
Hey.
Carmelo.
What's happening?
I got you, bro, in the 21st century. Is this your first interview on Instagram?
Yeah, I got my Tron shirt on.
Oh, can I see it?
Yeah. Got the glove.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, though, bro, for showing that.
All right.
There it is. Perfect right there where the camera's sitting.
All right.
So, Carmelo, can you introduce yourself to everybody's watching today, because this video will be seen worldwide?
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I follow you and I see all the work you're doing to document the history of hip-hop. So I know it's a lot of work, but it's much appreciated and much needed.
Thank you.
So my name is Carmelo Alvarez. I'm a youth and culture advocate. And how I started was in the early 70s. I was 15 years old and I met Chester Whitmore. And Chester Whitmore invited me to be in his tap troupe. So I was running with the hood at the time, right? Mm-hmm. So I was given a choice, gang or tap. And I chose tap. And thanks to that, it transformed my life. So everything that I do as a youth and culture advocate goes back to Chester giving me a choice. Do you want to be in my tap troupe? Okay. So I've dedicated my life to giving young people better choices, but mainly within the art and culture realm. So I've opened 12 cultural centers. Tron was my first cultural youth center, and we could get into how that happened. It's pretty crazy. So what happened? You want me to get started on that?
Yeah, let's start straight to Tron though, bro, because I want to make this a special Tron edition. Basically, like stories that's never been told about Tron, and I would like to know the beginnings of Tron.
Okay, so it started in 1983. That was 40 years ago. So this is the 40th
year.
This is the 40th anniversary of Tron, and it's the 50th anniversary of hip hop.
Right.
So shout out to Chester Whitmore, who's my lifelong friend, and shout out to Cool Herc and all the pioneers of hip hop from the Bronx, and we're gonna celebrate that. We're celebrating that this year,
Yeah.
and we have a 40th anniversary of Radiotron coming up at the Levitt Pavilion in MacArthur Park on June 24th. So
Oh, that's 2 months from now, basically 2.5 months.
yeah, so put that on your calendar. And
Right.
so in 1983, we rented an office on the corner of Parkview and 7th, which is across the street from MacArthur Park. And we rented the office from Jack Huntsberger. Now, Jack Huntsberger is an interesting character because he was a little bit eccentric, and he allowed all kind of underground artists to rent space from him. In fact, he had an artist named Tequila Mockingbird, and she also produced some avant-garde events, but also punk. So Mr. Huntsberger told me, hey, I have a little building in the back with a stage, and it'll be perfect for your youth center.
Okay.
So yeah, so Mr. Huntsberger, the owner of the property of the building, told me, hey, I have a building for you. So he gave me the keys. Now I thank God because I didn't have to pay first and last or credit check because I want to make that. So it's a blessing when somebody says, hey, I have a building for you and here's the keys. So he gave me the keys because God knows that I'm going to open doors for those in need with the keys.
Right.
He said, there's only one thing. There's always a catch, right? Like, there's only one thing. And I said, yes, Mr. Huntsberger. He says, every Friday night from 11 to 5 in the morning, there's a club there. I think it's called Radio or something. He goes, go down there and tell them that you're the new renter and that they gotta go. Tell them they have to leave.
Oh.
So I go, okay, Mr. Huntsberger, I'll go check it out, right? So Friday comes along, 11 o'clock at night, Friday. So I stroll up there, and the first thing somebody throws a bottle at me. You fucking Mexican, And I go, oh shit. So somebody doesn't want me here, right? But then I saw Madonna rolling up, right? And I saw a lot of we call them hipsters now. I think back then they were called like upscale, folks from the West Side, right?
Right.
And then I said, everybody say, hey, Madonna's here, and somebody goes, why? What's Madonna doing here? And then somebody said, slumming. So I had never heard that term, right? Because there's breaking, there's popping, but slumming. So slumming.
I'm sorry to add to that. You know what basically slumming means? It's the term of basically mean like bumming, like they're coming a step down, like you're slumming it, you're bumming it.
Right. So then I remembered because growing up with Chester, who introduced me to the whole history of African American dance and culture, especially in LA. So I remember hearing about like Frank Sinatra and Bing Cosby and Sammy Davis Jr. after they would perform at the Ambassador Hotel, which is down the street on Wilshire Boulevard. They'd go to Central Avenue to listen to jazz, to listen to Dizzy Gillespie and the jazz greats. So I started remembering, right, they used to use that term back then too. So it's when rich folks come down to the hood to get some culture.
Right.
So that's what was happening, and I saw it so clear because of my background, history, and experience. So I walked in, and the first thing I saw was Ice-T rapping. Now, I had seen breakdancing in New York, 1980 on Fifth Avenue, but I had never heard live rapping, and Ice-T was on the stage, and he was rapping, and there were some B-boys battling on the dance floor, and he was like calling the moves, and it was like a call and response, which they use a lot in hip-hop, and I was like, wow, this is the new thing. This is the new cultural movement, and I thought it was great because there was a very diverse crowd in terms of age. There were people probably like in their 50s, and there were young people in their teens, and it was diverse crowd, but mainly the artists were black and brown.
Okay.
I don't think Eminem was out back then at that time, you know.
No.
But you know, I loved it, so I went back to the owner and I said, "Hey, it's a good thing, you know. Can we keep them? Can we keep that?" And he goes, "Okay, well, you work it out with them, and whatever they pay you, that will be your rent for the cultural youth center." So the promoter, the actual promoter, was a European guy, a Russian French, yeah, Russian French guy that rented the building on Friday nights for radio club. So I went and talked to the guy, and I'm like, "Hey, good news. The owner said you guys could stay." And he's like, "No, you don't know who we are." And then he stormed off all mad. And he went to the owner and offered the owner, he told the owner, and the owner told me this. He said, he offered me 3 times whatever you're paying. But he didn't know I wasn't paying. It wasn't that I was paying. It was that the owner wanted the cultural youth center in his building, not the underground.
Okay.
So he wanted the after school, not the after hours, right? So then so then the next day when I was in the building, so I get a knock on the door, and it's Canon Films, and they're like, "Who the hell has this place? We're trying to make a movie here." And they go, "We're talking to this other guy." So they were talking to the European guy, but he didn't actually have the building. You see, so if he had spoken to me, and we sat down, I would have explained to him that I love what's happening with that, and talked to him about my background, and I would have definitely let him film his movie there. Just donate 10% to the youth center, and we're good, you know. So, but he didn't give me that opportunity. So I show him the paperwork. They go, "Okay, Mr. Alvarez, we're trying to make this movie Breaking, and they're making a movie in New York about breakdancing, but we want to make this movie. We want this movie to come out first." So
Breaking came out before B Street.
they were making Beach Street and Breaking at the same time. So they were, New York and LA was battling to see who's going to come out with the first like feature film. They had made documentaries like Breaking and Entering and Wild Style and other movies like that, but this was the first, you know, Breaking movie, even though Breaking is really popping, but they still called it Breaking, you know? So that's another story. That's another story, right? That we can get into. But going back to how the Radiotron came to be was that, so I allowed him to come in and film, right? And the first people that showed up were the graffiti artists. And that was Craze and Graph One. So Craze and Graph One are the ones that made this. They painted this on the stage. They painted this. Now, versus Tron, they had put Radio Club, but the club promoter walked in and saw that, and he got really pissed off, and he stormed over to the producers and said, "You got to pay me." The producers called the center. We had a payphone. The payphone in the lobby was everything. That was the admin phone, because back then we didn't have cell phones. We had pagers or beepers, right? But so we used the payphone. So I got a call on the payphone, and they let me talk to the graffiti artist. Okay, hey, they want you on the phone. So Craze came down and he talked, and he's like, okay, yeah. And then he hung up the phone, and he went over there, and him and Graph One, and you could hear it straight from them because they're on a podcast, got no control podcast, and they tell the story, right?
Okay.
But I like to give credit where credit is due. So they were there talking, and they're like, "We got to come up with a name." And they were talking about Tron. Like, I think the game Tron was out, the movie Tron, right? So they were joking, like, Tron, like, yeah, why not? Okay, Tron. Just like that, like flip, you know, like, Tron, that sounds good. So they created Radio Tron. And that's, I give them the credit.
Okay. And
So
what year was
that's
that? What year was that?
this was 83.
Wow. Do you remember the
So
month when the month? It was like was in June, July, April.
it was a little bit before summer, like because they were like on a tight schedule, right? So the thing is, remember I told you a lot of people say, "Well, I heard." Okay, were you there? No, but I heard. Okay, hearsay is not admissible in court. I was there. I'm a witness to them buffing out Club and putting Tron. Now, Craze gives thanks to Ice-T because he said Ice-T referred him to that gig.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Ice-T told him, hey, go try out for the go try out for the movie, And
Is
then Cannon,
is Craig still alive today?
yes, Craze is my friend. He's in New York, and I give him respect. Shout out to Craze and Graph One. He's in LA. Shout out to Graph One.
Do
So
you both have them on social media on Facebook?
yeah. So
Okay.
here's the thing. So that's when Radiotron was born. Now I tell Craze like you see this heart, this they made a heart right here.
Mhm.
There's another heart. There's another heart over here on Tron. But this heart right here, when the kids walked in, right? That's what they saw. So that heart was the heartbeat that brought that building to life for the youth because when the youth came in, when I hear them talk about it, they're like, it was magical. It was a magical place because it was me, my wife, and my mother. We were running that
Mm.
family. So we had nothing but love to give to the kids. And we offered them a space, where a safe space. My mom, she cleaned space because you know how moms are. They're like, no, they gotta have a clean space. And she ran the snack bar, so if they hungry, she'd give them food, some chips or whatever. She looked out for them, so they called her Mama Breaker. Okay, my mom, Mama Breaker.
Okay.
So anyway, after they filmed the movie, Breaking There. Then I heard another knock. There's a lot of knocks on the doors in my stories of my life story. I have a lot of doors opening, doors closing,
Mhm.
a lot of knocks on the door, a lot of keys. So I heard another knock on the door. I opened the door, a little kid. Hey, mister, can we break in there? And I'm like, yeah. He turns around, there's a bunch of kids, and he goes, hey, the man said we could go break in there. So those were the hungry breakers. And that kid is B-Boy Gizmo. And they used to break on Alvarado and 7th Street across from MacArthur Park for money, for food. The hungry breakers. So that was the first little break crew that came in, right? So I didn't have any equipment, like I didn't have any sound equipment. So there was this guy that was a security guard, a Native American, tall, big, a hefty Native American guy, that the kids called him Psycho, because even though he was a big guy, he was gentle. He was a very gentle soul, right?
Mhm.
So he comes up there with a big boombox, and he's like, "Hey, Mister, you need a security guard?" So I'm looking at his boombox, and I'm like, "Yeah, I could use that boombox. I can use that boombox right now." So I go, "If you let me use your boombox, you could be the security guard." So he goes, "Okay." So he puts the boombox on the stage. Now the kids have their boombox. They had their
Oh,
mixtapes. They start breaking, and then I got security guard on front.
now I want to add a question to that because I know a lot of people. I heard like different stories, but you were there firsthand from the source, and I want
Yeah.
to ask you, what what year did what year did um Ozrock come to the club radio, and like what was his reputation, like what was his energy like though, like when what did he come in there kind of like, yo, I'm from Rhode Island, yo, I know, I'm the best, or what, did he come in there kind of humble? Because a lot of
Okay.
people don't really know Ozrock's story.
Yeah. Well, Ozrock is Ozrock has had a lot of charisma. So that's just his nature. I mean, Ozrock's flash, like He's one of the first guys to like dye his hair, like put
Oh,
a
he was the
like a streak.
first.
I never saw other kids. I never saw other kids doing that. You
I
know.
seen him on the pilot when he did that. And I thought that was a
Right.
crazy hairdo on the pilot.
So Ozrock, right? But before Ozrock, we'll get to Ozrock, but I want to mention Mr. Animation.
Okay.
Okay, because before Ozrock, when Ozrock came, it was already happening. Like we had DJs, we had poppers, we had breaking crews like Shake City and Orko. They were already working out there,
Mm.
So when Ozrock showed up, it was happening, and then he came in, real flashy, right? Ozrock, I'm Ozrock from the movie Body Rock, right? And the kids knew. The kids knew. So he started working out with the kids. Right away he fell in with, because it's like you're all working in the same genre, right? You're meeting someone that you look up to, and now he's there with you. Plus,
Mm.
I'll tell you this: the kids, when they were filming the movie, and even when the radio club was going on, a lot of the kids from the neighborhood, they would be outside, like looking at that, right?
Oh
When
yeah.
they came and filmed, they were outside. They were on the outside, and all of a sudden they're on the inside because I left all the original graffiti from the movie
Oh.
there.
Oh.
Yeah, because they came in, with gray paint, and they were gonna buff it. Well, no, 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 because it needed color, man. This is a youth center. It needed color. It was perfect. So when the
Mm.
kids went in, they already had their alter ego name, like in hip hop, everybody has a name, Mikey Ice, or Ozrock Animation. So Orko, the graffiti writers, Prime, Crime, Defer, right?
Oh
They
yeah.
all so when they came in there, I would let them sign that name. Because when you go to a youth center, they don't let you sign your street name. You got to sign your real name, right?
Right.
But that space was for them. So I'll let them sign their street name, their hip hop name. So when they walked in, they became that personality. They became that persona, that our alter ego. That's who they were in that magical space. You see, because outside in MacArthur Park, there's crack, there's drive-bys, there's police brutality, there's craziness, madness, like there is now with the homeless, with the fentanyl. Well, back then there was homeless, there was gangs, but there was crack, there was drive-bys, there was AKs. How did that happen, right? So when they walk in there, first of all, there's kids that are leaving gangs to join hip hop crews.
Yeah.
Instead of shoot each other, they're breakdancing against each other, or they're doing graffiti. They're battling with the spray can at yard, right? So here's a space where you could be you. You could be hip hop you, right? And that's what made that space magical. Now, since we're celebrating 50 years of hip hop, according to the hip hop historians, hip hop started on August 11th, 1973, in the Bronx. It was a back to school jam that Kool Herc did for his sister.
Yes.
So if we want to get real, let's get real about that. Who started hip hop? If the historians say that it was August 11th, 1973, back to school jam, and that's on the flyer, who's going to school? Teenagers, junior high, high school kids. Not hip. Not hipsters did not start hip hop. Okay? The youth did. The youth started it. Why? Because the same thing was happening in the Bronx. Poverty, street, gangs, and those kids could not get into the discos. So I lived in New York for 3 years. They had Studio 54, all that. You had to wait. First of all, they don't let you in because you got to be 18 or so. You ain't getting in no club. You're not getting in. You're on the outside again. You're on the outside. So my thing is going back to the keys. Why did God gave me the keys to open the door, to bring the kids inside and create a safe and nurturing space. And I say nurturing because they're bringing the culture. Nothing I one teaches another. Like, I can't do classes in breaking. They're creating it. They're inventing it. But to see it being created before your very eyes, I feel blessed and privileged to have been given the opportunity to see when they were creating the power moves, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah. You're first. You have first eyesight at first generation West Coast power moves being created.
Exactly. And then like say someone like an Ozrock, going back to Ozrock, teaching them some of the floor work, some of the top rock, but mainly he's a showman. So he created like water breaking, like always creating water breaking, right? So he really had a lot of showmanship, and that's another element of hip hop. Whether it's in rapping, it's a show, man. You got to put on a show. You got to have that charisma, that flash, you know, and the style, right? The style, and even how you dress is a style, right? So then so now we have full force. Here's the Radiotron is after school. It was 50 cents after, and then the summer 50 cents. 50 cents all day, right? 50 cents all day, you know.
And 50 cents to get into the Radiotron?
Well, after school.
Right.
After school.
Still,
yeah.
Just for that, because radio events nowadays are like $20 or $40 a day to get in.
On weekends it was $5, but if you go after school, you get a Radiotron card. Some people still have it. They're card carrier members of Radiotron, right? So they get it free. They get it free. But their thing is to create a vibe, to do a show, to showcase their talent. So when people come, they see them showcasing the talent, right? So it's a lot of stories, bro. But ask me a question, you know, I'll be glad to answer.
So I heard at one point in time that the girl, what's Ice-T's girlfriend's name?
Darlene.
She said that she was a B-girl at the Radiotron. And I want to ask you, is that true? Was she really breaking, or was she just there being kind of like a groupie for the B-boys?
No, she came there. She was 100% all about hip hop. She was a B-girl, but she was also a rapper. So I also liked her presence. She also has a lot of charisma. She has a lot of presence. She's very articulate. So I had her and Jazzy D to be the house MCs for the Radiotron. Right. So we had a rap contest, and we invited Ice-T to come and be a judge. So Ice-T strolls in, right? And he's sitting on the stage in the judge's chair, and then Darlene and Jazzy D come out and they're rapping. And then I remember Ice-T, like, because we gave him like a poster board, you know, and a marker so they could say what number. And he's like, I vote for her. the contest hadn't even started, and Ice-T say, I vote for her, you know, for Darlene. I vote for Darlene. So after the contest, I remember them talking, and then the rest is history.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
From what she said on the podcast, that she said that she was a B-girl going to Radiotron, and Ozrock was her boyfriend. And during that time, Ozrock was kind of like he was a player. You know, he was very confident. He knew his way with words. So I guess basically he got caught cheating, and she found out about it, and then they broke up. And then that opened up opportunities for Ice-T and her to start talking.
Okay, so that's what she said?
That's what she said.
She said, he said, okay, here it is. Okay, wait a minute. Again, I was there, right?
She said.
So you could say, okay, so here's what happened, okay? And you could ask her, you know, unfortunately, you know, Ozrock's not here anymore.
Mm.
so he could verify and confirm. But his wife and child, they're still alive.
Oh
So
yeah. You know what? His daughter had wrote to me on YouTube when I started putting his footage up on YouTube though. She reached out to me though, and she told me like that's my dad. This is like
well,
back in
I would love to
2005.
be, I would love to be in touch with her. And also, Animation has a son that looks just like him. So I would love to reach out to them.
Okay.
I have because I have some video of their parents that I would love to share with them.
Okay.
That would be lovely for them because that's their heritage. Like you said, preserving the heritage, right?
We have to.
So this is it, and that's what you're doing. That's why I'm doing this because
Okay.
I follow you, and I know that you're like a scribe. Like you're keeping our stories alive. And our culture.
Hmm.
So, Doctor, now what happened is that we had a lot of Japanese, European people from all over the world would come to the Radiotron to find talent to take back to their country. So there was a promoter from Japan who came and he wanted to take animation, but animation didn't want to go to Japan because animation had never flown in an airplane. believe, believe it or not, right?
Yeah.
I mean, animation
I was scared
had like the
too though, I ain't gonna lie.
I mean, the guy looks like he's built like a boxer, tough, but the guy had the sweetest soul inside.
Mhm.
Uh, so he didn't want to flex Japan, so he said, "Well, take him, Ozrock, and Ozrock, I'll go, Ozrock, I'll go."
How,
So Ozrock,
how old was Osrock during that time? You think he was about 16 or 17?
no, he was already 18. He was already 18. Yeah, because he didn't require parental consent. So when animation came there, he was 17. So I had to go meet his mom at a church in Central Avenue. His mom lived in a church on Central Avenue. So I had to go ask her permission. Can your son stay at Radio? Because animation lived at Radiotron. Now Ozrock and a lot of other people would come and stay there. They could stay there overnight or a week or whatever. It was that kind of place because on the second floor we had like rooms, right? So anyway, going back to finish just this story, and then we go on to something else. Is that so Ozrock went to Japan, and on the way back they stopped in the Philippines. So
Oh,
right, so he met someone there and he got married.
oh, because he had got the girl pregnant, right?
I mean, no, I think he just met. He met someone, and I guess love at first sight
Okay.
because she cut his hair. Right? He went in there to get a haircut. I guess during the layover, he went and do his hair, right? So he went to like a beauty salon, and she was there, and he fell in love, and he married her.
Okay.
So then the word got back to LA that Ozrock was married.
Oh,
So so I had a couple of girls. So I had a couple of girls crying in my office, right? Because not only Darlene, but I had a couple of I had a couple of other girls crying in my office, right?
really?
That yeah. I mean, he was popular.
Yeah.
Ozrock was popular. So once that happened, Darlene was free, and then when Ice-T walked in, she was she was a free woman to meet other people, and that's what happened.
And she was
Yeah,
honestly like even doing when she did the cover for Power with Ice-T. Oh my God, that girl was super beautiful.
yeah, and she also smart and a great personality. So that also, it's not just what's out here, the beauty, but it's also what's inside. And
Okay.
I know right now she's a doula for people that are passing on, like people that are transitioning, dying, and she does that. So you got to be a special person to be able to sit with folks that are
Oh,
dying. Okay.
do you have her on social media at all?
Yeah, I do.
You do
I do.
on Instagram or Facebook?
Facebook.
And what's her name on Facebook?
Darlene Ortiz.
Ortiz, okay. Because I want to reach out to her because I would like to hear her B-girl history too, and like just basically that story with Oz though, because I remember as a kid I was at home and they said ABC special and they said the pilot, and
Yeah.
I seen the commercial for the pilot, and I remember one day I ran home from junior high school so I can go watch the pilot, and that was my first time seeing Oz. And then on top of that, I remember him doing a Mountain Dew commercial, doing baby windmills like on the linoleum with water.
Yeah. In fact, he did that in City Hall when we marched, because
Oh,
there's a part two. Now, as far as yeah, you should reach out to Darlene and let her tell her
right,
story. Because I don't we in Spanish we call it chisme. You know, chisme, that's gossip.
right.
So I don't like to get too much into people's personal
Okay,
situation. Um, you know, there's always drama. There's always drama. And my motto is keep the drama on stage. And that's why I'm a playwright. Now I'm a screenwriter. And there's stories to be told. But what can we learn from these stories? That's every story has a moral to the story. And what can we learn from that? So after for the first year, everything was happening, right? With had a B girls, B boys, rappers. Um, you know, I could go down list like 100 of them, right? Then here's what happened: the Surgeon General of California declared breaking hazardous to your health. That's crazy. And the news came and interviewed the breakers from Radiotron, the news crews, right? They came and they're like asking the kids, "Have you been injured?" And then Little Caesar's like, "Well, I got a ball spur right here." So they're like, "Can we get a close up of that ball spur from the head spin, right?" So then he said, "Yeah, but now we put knee pads. You know, we put a knee pad under our hat, or we have a helmet." So Ozrock and Little Caesar and Orko and them, they actually invented a little breaking helmet, and they actually made a little commercial. It's rare footage. I'll try to find it and send it to you so you could keep it in the archives, right? Because it's a crazy little commercial they made. They made a little breaking a little breaking helmet, you know. So they asked me what I thought about it, and I go, "Why didn't the Surgeon General declare gangbanging hazardous to your health? Because kids are dying from that every day, and kids are coming here. Yes, some get injured, but that's why I tell them to do warm-ups.
mm,
Do warm. We can fix that. It's like there's football and soccer and sports. People get hurt. It's a physical activity, but you don't ban it. You don't stop it. What you do is you prevent the injuries by creating warm-ups, right? And so once the Surgeon General of California declared breaking hazardous to your health, the Unified School District banned breakdancing in the schools. And
ooh,
the city of LA banned hip hop from all city buildings.
what?
That's what did it,
What
man.
year was
That's what did it. This was in 84. And it's crazy because it was during the Olympics when breaking was in the closing ceremonies of the Olympics. That was the LA Breakers, right? And breakdancing was seen around the world for the first time on television on the closing ceremonies of the Olympics at the LA Coliseum in 1984. Okay? Yeah. So when we marched to City Hall, because then the owner saw that we were not going to get any support from the city, because once the Surgeon General declares something hazardous and you support that, you're liable. So what they care about is liability, you know, getting sued. That's what they care about. So I have documentation that kids were leaving gangs to join breakdance crews and dancing against each other instead of fighting each other or shooting at each other. I also have documentation that kids from different gangs came together to form graffiti art crews. See, they were doing the gang we call plaqueazos, Old English, block letters. That's an LA thing. And now that's popular. That's also popular now, in graffiti, in the graffiti art world, right? The old English calligraphy.
Camera a little bit more so I can see your face. Thank you. Yeah. Right there. Okay.
So a lot of people are like, well, it started in the subways. Well, I was there I lived in New York from 80 to 83, and I saw the subway art, and that's true. But I'm from LA, and in the 70s, we were doing like bubble letters. Also, with the hippie movement, we're doing psychedelic art, but mainly in the streets, in the hood, in the barrios, they were doing old English, kind of a calligraphy style gang writing. That was really so. A lot of the youth that were talented in doing the old English block letters, street calligraphy, they would get a pass because, hey, put me up, to put me up in the roll call. So that would be they would be in charge of doing the letters, for the gangs, right?
I have a question for you, Carmelo. Sorry to cut you off. From your point of view, who was some of the first early graffiti crews that you seen on the wall in LA?
Well, the first crew that I saw was LA Bomb Squad at what they call the Belmont Tunnel, which was off of Beverly Boulevard, right below Belmont High School. So it was Shandu, Crime, Risco, Geo. That was a crew that took over the tunnel. It was an abandoned rail line. There was actually a train that would go through the tunnel and go downtown LA. It would come down Glendale, like past Echo Park, all the way to downtown. So when they took the trolleys, they were called trolleys, the red cars. When they took those out, that yard was abandoned. So that's when they said the yard. That was literally a rail yard. It was literally a yard. Now they call yards like any wall where they can like do graffiti. Oh, the yard. But that was literally a real yard where the trolleys would stop and get repairs or whatever, and then go down the tunnel all the way downtown. So that was the LA Bomb Squad. And then and then at Radiotron, I gave the graffiti artists a room on the second level, which we call the tag room. Because in that room, you could tag anywhere. Like, you could tag the wall, the ceiling, the tables, the chairs, but you cannot cross anybody out, and no gang writing. So writers would come from all over and meet there because I had a table, like a long table, and chairs around, and I'd get recycled paper from the corporations along Wilshire Boulevard. I'd get markers from H.G. Daniels, and I'd bring it, put it on the table, and the youth would come there, and they would learn techniques from each other. Black books, were popular. And out of that came K2S, Kill to Succeed, STN, MAK, and yes, Soon and Legit showed up, and they asked me if they could paint the front of the Radiotron, and I said, yeah. So Soon and Legit actually painted, like the front of the Radiotron was like, graffiti, it's ephemeral. It's like, it's rotating art, right? So several other people painted the front, but Soon and Legit did paint. And I know they also influenced, a lot of the LA writers. And plus, the youth were getting pictures from New York, okay? So the graffiti writers had their space, and then I had 2 turntables, so you could go inside there, and you could sign up to mix, and you could use headphones, because we could only have one on at the time. Can't have 2 turntables on the same. But you could break dance, you could rap, because we had a microphone, you could pop block, do graffiti, but you didn't have to, it wasn't like, oh, 30 minutes graffiti, 30 minutes breaking, 30 minutes DJing, because that's school. Okay. That's, I wasn't trying to create a program. I was deprogramming the kids because when they go to school all day, it's like 45 minutes the bell rings, then 45 minutes the bell rings, 45. They're like programming them to work in factories, you know? So I
Mm.
wanted to deprogram, create a space where you could come in and you could try different things. But if you didn't feel like doing anything and you just wanted to chill, that was cool too. Maybe you needed someone to talk to. Maybe you needed help with your homework. So it was more of a free flowing space.
Somebody said I used to go to the radio.
Yeah.
You see that in the comments?
Oh, okay. That was they probably went to the radio club. So
Yeah.
the radio club was on Friday nights from 11 to 5 in the morning.
I
And
can't even imagine like being a teenager staying out till like 5 in the morning.
well, it was packed. And some kids did manage to get it.
It would stay till 5 in the morning, all the kids.
I don't know about the kid. I don't think the kids. I think the kids would have to sneak out of the house and then come back, sneak back inside. But they did have there was a drive. It was mainly adults because
Oh,
I
maybe.
went there. Yeah, I went there. I saw it, and I was okay with it because I used to go to after hours. When in the 70s, I would go to party in the after hours,
So
right?
were they breaking
So
in there though too, or was it just a club?
they, they were like Shake City. Shake City was like the breakers from there, like
Mm.
Shake City. In fact, I think Craze and Graph were from Shake City. So Shake City had graffiti, rappers, and
And that
breakdancers.
was an
That
all brothers crew though, right?
Yeah, yeah, that was all Elements crew, Shake City. So shout out to Shake City, And
And
I know
you have
Shake
any of
City
those,
was
you have any of those guys on social media too from Shake City?
well, Craze was from Shake City.
So
Craze
just
and Graph. Yeah,
they're on
yeah,
Facebook too. Just look up Craze.
yeah, Craze. Yeah.
What does he have a last name?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm
A lot
sorry.
of these guys don't know a lot of these guys don't even know their real name. you know, I just
Okay.
know them by their name. So anyway, so when the owner sold, so the owner finally, he's just sold the land, right? Sold the building, sold everything. And I said, well, can we have the building? And he goes, yeah, you can have the building. So that's when we marched to City Hall and we marched K-Day. K-Day used to also promote us a lot.
Hmm?
There was a guy named Rory Kaufman.
You're not sure?
Was Rory?
You sure it
Rory?
wasn't great?
Okay, Greg Mack. He ran the KDAY. KDAY was in Echo Park, going towards where the two freeway is. If you go down Glendale, and then there's the two freeway, like a block before the two freeway, you go up a hill. You go up a hill, and KDAY was right
Oh,
there. So,
okay.
so Greg Mack ran KDAY with the Mac Attack Mixmasters and Tony G and all them. Then Tony G became a DJ at Radiotron.
Oh,
It was Antron, Juan G. We had so many different DJs going through there, but the main one became Tony G, right? So that's like the second phase. There's the first phase is what we started with the Hungry Breakers, and then it started building more popularity. But when the owners sold the building, we marched to City Hall to see if the city could give us land so we could move the building. But the city turned their back because going back to the Surgeon General declaring breaking hazardous to your health, instead of helping to save the Radiotron, the city banned hip hop. So
oh,
they weren't gonna, yeah. In fact, they came to the building and said, "Yeah, we'll take the building, but we're not gonna have hip hop here. We're gonna bring in our programs." And I'm like, "No, that's not what I do. I mean, a program. What's a program? Do something that they want you to do. Come on, I'm just like the kid, but I'm just older, right? I was a misfit, rebellious, creative artist type. Where do we go to be creative, right?
mhm.
So another program. Hip hop's not a program, bro. It's a culture. There's a difference. right? So then after that, they turned their back. The kids were disappointed, but Canon Films came back because they saw us on the news. Canon Films,
Oh,
they saw the news, right? And they go, we want to make Breaking Two.
okay.
And they go, what happened? So I told them the story how, the owners sold the land, gave us the building. We marched to City Hall, tried to save the Radiotron. So they came back and they go, we want to film Breaking Two. And since I had the original graffiti from Radiotron, they were like, yeah, can we use, the space? And I go, okay, but hire the kids. Hire the kids. So they created this space out in East LA, which was the Mexican, what was the Mexican Cultural Center in East LA, and they named it Miracles. Because when they asked me, well, how did you do it? I go, it was a miracle. Because it was a miracle. How did I get the keys to this space with no first and last and no credit check?
Right,
It's a miracle.
right, okay. You know what I want to ask you too? The Latina girl that was on stage at MacArthur Park, and when she seen Turbo, there's like, oh, Turbo's in love.
Oh,
And she started
yeah.
talking. Did you know her? Did you know her at all? Did you know anything about her?
No, she came out of casting.
Okay, she came out of casting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they did big casting. A lot of the people, they were not, they were just regular dancers, actors.
Okay.
Yeah. But so anyway, they filmed Breaking Two, right? Unfortunately, a lot of the kids from Radiotron, since they came from El Salvador, Mexico, they didn't have work permits.
Oh.
They showed up over there. And I go, did you get your permit? Because not only do you have to have a work permit, you have to have a social security card and you have to have good grades.
Oh.
Exactly. So they go, oh, we got this. Okay. So I drove them over there. I came back and I waited by the phone. I waited by the payphone for the call. And sure enough, I got the call and they were all quiet. I go, oh, you want me to pick you up? And they're like, yeah, can you come pick us up? So I went to pick him up. It was a long ride back to Radiotron because they couldn't work. Yeah. Now, animation did get to work, but he wore that mask, And it's funny because when animation came, his dream was to be in a movie. And he got to be in the movie Electric Boogaloo. But he wore that ball.
With the mask that had like that, and they were popping in the circle?
Yeah, that's animation.
I thought that part was crazy because I seen it at the theater.
Yeah. So they made the movie. They took the story of the real Radiotron, but they didn't give us a story by. We didn't get the credit like story by, right?
Mm.
But it's documented in the news because there's several news clips that we have. You could Google news clips of Radiotron, and you'll see it's in the news. I mean, that's documentation that we're watching. And you see Ozrock in front of City Hall, water breaking with Little Caesar. You see Heckle and Jekyll, and then you see Handyman, right? Dancing, Handyman, right? And that was that. And then we came back. Tony G was DJing, and then Mellow Man Ace came there, and he hooked up with Tony G, and they produced the song Mentirosa, which was like the first bilingual rap. And then you had Be Real went there during that time, and he said he got on the mic, forgot his lyrics. He tells a story. He has a podcast, the Dr. Green Thumb. So he interviewed Darlene on that, and he tells a story how he went to Radiotron. So you had Be Real, Mellow Man Ace. A lot of people went through there, and that's why it's important to have space, to have cultural space. Like that's an element of hip hop that we take for granted. Now they're going to open up the Universal Hip Hop Museum in the Bronx to preserve the history of hip hop. And what we're looking to do in LA is to open a breakdance arena for the 28 Olympics that's coming to LA.
Oh, arena. Okay.
Yeah, because where are we gonna showcase our talent? So if you have breakdancing, you're gonna have DJing. If you have breaking, you're gonna have DJing. And if you're gonna have DJing, you gotta have some graffiti art graphics. And then you gotta have some poppers, for the show, for the halftime show, right? You gotta have
Right.
some poppers. So I'm working with the popper community, pop locking community, because that came out of the West Coast. That's our contribution,
Mhm.
right? So in the 20 Olympics, we gotta have like pop lockers at the closing ceremony because breaking's gonna be in the Olympics. So we get 1,000 pop lockers. Imagine, get 1,000 pop lockers for the closing ceremony of the 2020 Olympics in LA. What do you think of that?
Mhm. I think that would be amazing. You know what, Carmelo? Like the 80s was like a dope story, and I kind of want to make the transition, like going into the 90s now. I remember I had got the VHS tape though, and it was the Radiotron 1995, and
Yeah.
um they had the girl that was on the mic, and she was like, "Yo, Radiotron, this is the place to be." During that time, like, how did you feel when Radiotron made a resurgence, though, bro? Because I remember when Breaking died, and I remember when I seen that Radiotron VHS, I had a feeling that Breaking was gonna make a comeback, and Radiotron from '95 up to maybe about like I'll say like '97, '98, like that place made like
Yeah.
stars, made people's careers that got careers right now as we speak because of Radiotron.
So I had to have that conversation with Little Caesar, right? Because as it was dying, I'm like, you know what? There should even be like a world federation of breaking,
Mhm.
because it's an art form. It maybe it wasn't popular as far as kids doing it on every street corner, and the reason obviously because you get a ticket, the city banned hip hop. You don't want to get arrested, you don't want to get fined, but we need to create spaces for that. So when somebody like especially like somebody that came out of the original Radiotron, right? Somebody came out of Radiotron or they came out of Radio Club like Oracle and Shake City, and they want to form a space to keep the culture alive for the next generation. I'm 100% supportive of that.
Mm.
You got my blessing 100%. In fact, I got a call from Portugal and they want a Radiotron there. I said, do it. You got my blessing. There's a Radiotron in Argentina right now that's going strong. And they asked me, and I said, yes, definitely. So I support that. We need Radiotrons. I don't care what you call it, but Radiotron type of cultural centers in every community
Oh,
so that the young people can go there. I mean, Boys and Girls Club and YMCA's, that's fine and dandy, but they have a different program. I mean, do they really? This is like youth led. Like this is culture being created live. You're like it's a delicate balance of having a space where you nurture that freedom to create and you don't stifle it, but you have to be also accepting. Like if kids want to put tattoos or paint their hair purple or have piercings, that's an expression. My mother always taught us because I grew up in the 60s and I was like a hippie cholo. I had like long hair and
mhm.
jeans and patches and all that, right? And my sisters wore mini skirts. And my father would always be scandalized, like, no, no mini skirts, no long hair. But my mother always taught us, what's important? Is what's inside.
Mm.
That's important. Because just because you look a certain way on the outside, what matters is what's on the inside. Because you could to be hip and good is a cool thing. Being hip, you don't gotta being hip doesn't mean be bad, do bad things. No. Being hip and giving back to your community, that's the greatest high that you ever want to experience. When I work with the kids, I go, you know, I'm high right now. And they're like, oh, what'd you smoke? Blunt? I go, no, I'm high because I'm here with you. I'm fulfilling my purpose in life. Try
Mm-hmm.
giving. Go like today, go out and give to someone that needs it. And you're gonna feel so good. The reward that you get is in the giving itself. Now sometimes they don't even appreciate it, or they might not even say thank you. But don't do it for that. Do it because you're doing it from your heart, because it feels good to give to the least fortunate. It's a blessing to give. So
And
go
that
out there, give.
and that's the main reason why I'm doing this too, is because it's just like you said, like I don't ask for thousands of people like to watch this or for it to be the most popular thing. I do it because it's my gift back to something I've loved since I was 12 years old. And that's
And
why I do it. If nobody ever did it, for me, it's my saying, you know what, hip hop, I love you and I want to give you something back because you gave me everything. You
and
gave
that's
me my identity. You gave me my way to express myself when I was shy, because I was very shy though, bro. When I seen the guys that were breaking that was older than me, like I was terrified like to go onto the circle because I'm the shy little kid that's 12 years old trying to figure out like, what is this though? Like, you know what I'm saying? These guys got the Jerry curl, they got the members only jacket, they got the Pumas, you know, they just have this energy that I don't have. So I was always the kid in the background watching. And then one day I said, once I get good, that I'm going to be that person that's going to always give back. So for the last 20 something years, that's just been my pure mission. Honestly, I've never made money off of hip hop. Not like real money where it's like, okay, like, yeah, they're sending me checks. Yeah, they're flying me all over the world. If anything, like, I've always felt like I supported hip hop. Hip hop never supported me. I- I've always
yeah,
supported hip hop. I mean, I'm the one that go pay for it. I'm the one that puts it up and say like, this is love right here. Yeah, I never waited for it to come look for me to say, Mike, guys, you know, do you want to do something? Every day when I wake up, I say, you know what? Life is always about giving back because that's what people's going to remember you the most.
yes.
How much you contribute to the world. And if it's pure and it's innocent and it's love, you will be remembered for generations to come because that's what people remember about you. Like you never stop believing in your passion.
Yeah.
And I
Well, you know,
and I salute you for doing that, Carmelo. And that's the reason why I want you on here. Like, you're not the most famous b-boy in the world. Everybody that's probably watching this will be a first time watching you. But at the same time, Radio Tron, though, like the roots of it, though, the reason why all these people have careers on the West Coast is because your vision.
well, it was a purpose that God put in my heart to use my gifts and my talents to serve the youth.
Yes.
So the way that I measure success is not by how much money I have, but by how many people I've helped. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what makes us rich in life and in spirit. How many
Mm-hmm.
people you help. And that's fulfilling our purpose.
I love
And
it.
that's why I'm here.
I go to
And
bed
that's why
at
I'm
I
here.
go to bed at night. I feel happy though, bro. I'm just like when I put this interview up and people start to see it, I know it's gonna take some time for them to process it because it's like we're going into like the Bible for the West Coast of hip hop and breaking. And not only that, and we're gonna share that too, hip hop on the West Coast, from my experience, it was the first time that I was able to be side to side with Latinos eating tortillas, eating arroz, eating like albondigas. I've never ate that. I'm a black kid from South Central LA, and my community is all black, all more
Well,
than all more than
can you imagine the kids coming from like fleeing civil war in Salvador, where there's bombs and bullets flying, there's war, like war torn
right,
country, and coming to LA and then coming into Radiotron and meeting Mr. Animation.
right,
Imagine that.
right. So for me, like, I kind of heard this, like somebody had like put this little energy out that Latinos didn't, Latinos are guests in hip hop, and I'm thinking to myself, like, no, 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 bro, like they were there since day one. They were there. My friends, all the crews that I seen, when I first seen breaking, to be honest with you, it was all brothers doing it, to be honest with you. And then as the year started transitioning, maybe about that same year or a year after, the Latinos started coming in deep, bro. Like they outnumbered the brothers. So
Well,
all,
when I saw it in New York, when I saw it in New York in 1980 on Fifth Avenue, it was the Puerto Rican, the New Yorican kids.
yeah,
They were breakdancing, you know. But at Radiotron, because it was in the MacArthur Park area, so it's very central. Because see, you have Wilshire Boulevard that leads you like up into the Hollywood area. Then you have access like if you go to Echo Park, you're going like Northeast LA. You're right there downtown East LA, and then you're right down the street from South Central LA. So it was very central located. But I never heard anybody talk about color unless they were talking about what spray can they were going to use to paint a wall. That's the only time I heard color, right? But other than that, that wasn't a thing. That wasn't a thing, you know. It was love, and I think that's the beauty of the culture. So as we celebrate 50 years of hip hop, let's remember the roots of hip hop, the foundation of hip hop was people coming together to show their skills. And it was not a color thing. It was not a color thing. It was about youth showing and expressing themselves because when you get rejected, like you can't go in that club because you're not old enough. You don't have money. You can't take those dance classes because you don't have your parents can't afford to send you to a dance studio and pay for the classes. So you know what the youth do? They create their own thing. This says necessity is the mother of invention. So hip hop was created by the people. It came up from the people, from the poor people. And that's the history of culture in America. When they were coming off those slave ships, right? And they would be working in the plantation on their time off, the little time they had off, they would be imitating the masters. They called it, whoever would make everybody laugh or dance the best, they would get a cake. They called it the cakewalk. That became so popular that white people started painting their face black and they called it the minstrel shows. So that's crazy. So you had Bojangles, right? Bojangles, he was black, but he had to paint his face black to do shows. And he was black, right? Until he went to Canada and he did a show there where he didn't have to paint his face black anymore. So this is the history. Then in the 30s you had the bebop movement, the jazz movement, right? The underground jazz, because they couldn't go into certain clubs. Like black people couldn't go. Let's talk about LA, the Dunbar Hotel on Central Avenue was made there because that's where the black artists could stay there, like a nice, beautiful hotel that welcomed black people. The Dunbar Hotel is history. That's where all the great jazz artists would stay.
yeah.
Central Avenue jazz, you know. So I do relate jazz. I do relate jazz and bebop and jazz and swing and all that. I think hip hop is an evolution of that. And I do acknowledge the contributions of African American to the culture, which is now worldwide global culture. And I'm grateful, thankful that Chester Whitmore, my brother, now I never saw him as a black guy. I always saw him as Chester, my brother, my friend, you know, but he taught me the history and he took me under the wing and I got to do musical theater at Inner City Cultural Center. My first play was Crenshaw Boulevard, and I'm thankful to Bernard Jackson, the founder of Inner City Cultural Center, another historic legend that created space and inspired me to open space. Mm-hmm. So I've opened 11 spaces, 12 spaces, and 13 is going to be the dancing arena for the 28 Olympics in LA. Okay. That's what's happening.
Carmelo, I have a question for you. Do you have any of the '80s footage of Radiotron, like on VHS?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Yeah.
I got. Do you have a VHS right now?
I mean, I have it like stored in the back, and I even have I also have a 3/4 inch.
What's that?
That's like broadcast quality, like the big thick tapes.
Yo,
Yeah.
you gotta do something with that, Carmelo, because I'm just being honest with you, though, man. Like Frosty Freeze from the Rock City Crew, he had original tapes, like original tapes of all the early, like battles that would happen with Cold Crush Brothers and the Treacherous Three, and he had all these memorabilias. But when he passed away, all that stuff though, bro, I think they just threw it away. And to me, it was like, oh my gosh,
Well,
like the kid,
I have
his
digitalized. Hold on, I have digitalized a lot of it, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm digitalizing it.
do it,
Yeah,
please do it, please. I want to see it.
putting together a documentary. Because after Radiotron, we opened Peace and Justice Center, and that's where Cut Chemis, who also went to Radiotron when he was a kid, Will Dog went to Radiotron when he was 10 years old, and he formed the band Somali with Charlie Tuna, Cut Chemis, um, and I also had Black Eyed Peas used to go there on Thursday nights and do the open mic. Dilated People, Jurassic 5. This was like the 90s, Project Blood, The Good Life, B Hall, and Ben Conwell, which I honor them, my sister, my brother, because we're the holders of space. We're the holders of space. We're like you said, we're not B-boys or B-girl, we're not DJs, but we create space, we hold space. So
Mhm.
Ben, much love to Ben Caldwell. I mean, he's my brother, and I give him so much respect for holding down Project Blow, the Chaos Network, and then B Hall. She did the Good Life. About 3 years ago, I actually honored them at the Radiotron. I gave them a Youth Advocate Award for their work with young people. But we need more young people to step up now. Maybe when I say young people, like some of them are in their 50s. They came out of Radiotron in the 80s, so they're in their 50s. So we need some people to step up and think about opening space. Think about creating space for the youth in your community, because that's something that I'm going to be advocating for. I'm working on that right now. That's probably be like the last thing that I do, before I transition into the next world of spirit form. When I go back to where I came from. Well, somebody said that we're spiritual beings having a human
I
experience.
said that we're spiritual beings having a physical experience.
Yeah, that's right. So as we transition and continue on our spiritual journey,
Hmm.
so what I'm leaving behind is to fulfill my purpose the best that I can. I can't promise anything. I can
Mm.
only promise that I'm gonna do the best I can. That's it.
Yeah, and I do the same thing too. Like I feel like just doing this is like I'm doing the best that I can, and I know a lot of people appreciate it because it's organic, and I'm giving you like real stories, like in-depth stories though. So I decided to rebrand what I do called Beyond the VHS, meaning like we're telling stories beyond the VHS. So like that's kind of like my new slogan that I'm running with. It's always going to be Mikey Ice TV, but I decided that I wanted to like upgrade it. So for now, I use the slogan Beyond the VHS because a lot of these stories that are on VHS like are not really being told. So I want to take the initiative to be the one to say, you know what? I'm going to start telling them stories that's on VHS with individuals because I know that we're veteranos. Like we have so much history that we need to share before we make a transition.
Yes. So come and celebrate 50 years of hip hop, 40 years of Radiotron at MacArthur Park on June 24th. Starts at 7. I've invited the Freestyle Fellowship to come. We have King T, Toddy T, Egyptian Lover,
I was here last
Kip,
year.
Kip Frost.
I went the last
Uh,
5 years. The last 5 years since
yeah.
I've been here.
And then we have a graffiti art show also coming up on May 12th it's a German Cultural Center. It's like 2 blocks from MacArthur Park. The
Oh,
Godoff Institute, and I'm gonna post that. If you want to follow me on, you can go to Radiotron. It's on Instagram, right? Radiotron.la, or you can
oh,
go to Carmelo_LUV. So Radiotron.la or Carmelo CARMELO_LUV. And I'm gonna post all the flyers there with all the people that are gonna be the list of artists that are confirming right now. Their artists are confirming that they're gonna be there to celebrate 50 years of hip hop, 40 years of Radiotron. Free show in MacArthur Park, and come down and dance and do your thing, because we always have a dance floor for people to come and break and pop and lock and do all that.
yes. All right, Carmelo, I just want to say thank you for this interview. I appreciate it. I know that if one person writes on it and say, you know what, like it touched my heart, to me, job well done. That's all I really want. I just want one person to say, you know what, that touched my heart though, bro. Like I'm going through something and this is what I need. This is what I needed to see. This is what I needed to feel. Because now I feel like I'm a part of something. Because hip hop is the most beautifulest, one of the most beautifulest things in the world that touches all races. All races. I don't care where you're from. You can be from the Netherlands, and hip hop will make you feel gold, make you feel golden.
Well, you know how in hip hop they say one teaches
Each
another.
one teach one.
Each one teach each one. So now we could say, because we see a walk outside, you see a broken world. So
Oh gosh.
each one gives.
Everywhere I look, somebody's
Yeah.
laying on the floor, somebody's eating out of a garbage can, somebody's like just in the middle of the street going crazy, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm glad that I have Jesus in my life, but hip hop gives me that drive that says, you know what? Let's create your own world where you can have a platform to push out positive energy every day, not just whenever you feel like it, or you know what, hip hop to me is positive. It's always been positive energy. I just leave it like that. You know what I'm saying? So thank you.
Sometimes it's not always about like just money, because like right now, me and you, we're giving of ourselves. And when you go out in the community, sometimes folks just need someone to talk to, someone that will listen to them. That's free. That doesn't not gonna cost you money. It's gonna cost you time. Sometimes time is more precious than money. But give your time to those in need, and give your love to everybody around you. And you could start with yourself, your family, and your community, and
Yeah.
it will have global impact. So much love to everybody that tuned in to listen to this, and much love to you, brother,
All right.
for having me on. I appreciate it. Let's continue to work together, and let's put a little doc together. We can make it happen.
Okay.
So I'll send you some archival footage so you can keep it for your records. And
Yeah. Please. Oh, I get excited when I see some footage I had of Caesar. They were young at radio trying to say 1980. And Caesar was like standing against the wall, and it had like a piece of like a B-boy. And like you can see him like posing against the wall, and you can see Oz in the back like writing like Jesus save. And I'm just like, yo, that was great to see that.
yeah.
Early 80s. It said like something like 1982. I don't know, 82 or 83. And Caesar looked like he was like 7 in the footage. He was super young. It's the one where they was asking him, they was like, how many head spins you do? He was like, I do about 500 head spins. He's on the king. He was super young.
Well, see, one of the things about Hollywood, right, where when the kids they see hip hop and Hollywood or the music industry, they're it becomes about fame and fortune and the bling and the sex and the drugs, you know, as opposed to the culture, because the culture is the best of a people, the morals, the value, that which you want to pass on to your children and your children's children. So somewhere along the line, when you start getting fame and money, you forget about the culture. So let's go. Let's remind everybody in this 50th golden anniversary of hip hop that it's about the culture of hip hop, and
Right.
let's preserve the culture, which is about developing your skills, your talent, and sharing it. Because it was never about the money, you know. So one of the things that I noticed when I was working in Radiotron, when managers started coming and recruiting kids and pulling them out of there and promising them like in those old movies, like I'm gonna make you a star, you know, was that we forgot about the spirituality of it, you know. And somebody said, oh, you know, the first word in the Bible is first there was the word, right? And that's rap. So when you rap, be conscious that words matter and you're going to influence people listening. So uplift your community. And if you do graffiti, wear a mask. Especially now, you you can get a mask anywhere.
Right.
Because you're breathing things that are not healthy for your lungs, you know. And if you dance, warm up. So those are three practical tips that I want to share with the hip hop community,
Okay.
especially if young people are listening, to keep in mind when you're creating. You rap, uplift. You graph, wear a mask. You dance, warm up so you don't get hurt.
Yeah.
Stay healthy, stay hip, and keep on hopping.
Yeah. Hip means to be aware. Hop is the movement. Hip is aware. Hop is the movement. Hip hop.
Conscious movement.
Yeah. Hop means to be aware. Hip is aware. Hop is the movement.
Yeah, that's it.
Hip hop.
All right, my brother.
Thank you, Carmelo.
Peace to you. Much love.
You too, brother.
Much love to all. All right.